Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of Heritage Oakville to order and to welcome everybody here. And we have, I can see at least 3 of our committee members, now 4, are attending virtually. And our last meeting was just after the equinox, and this meeting is just after the solstice. So technically, we didn't miss the summer. But it does seem like that. But there were no applications for us to deal with, so we're here today because there are. Any members of the public who are watching us on the live stream who want to follow along with the agenda can go to oakville.ca, and there's a tab that will guide you to where you can find that agenda. Delegations who wish to join the meeting must register. All delegations, not just those who are physically here, but those who are joining. They must register with the Clerk's Department on the business day to the meeting. We have some delegations in person here today, and we'll hear from them later. This is, as I've said so many times before, an advisory committee, and any recommendations that we make will go to the Planning and Development Council at its meeting on October the 6th at 6:30 p.m. Good. So do we have any regrets, Madam Secretary?
No, there are no regrets.
Thank you. Do we have any declarations of pecuniary interests? No? No? Good. So the next item on the agenda then is the approval of the minutes. And these were distributed to us. All my stuff is blowing away here. It's not the wind, it's just me. These were circulated. Any comments on the minutes as circulated? Anybody like to give me a motion? Russ has given me a motion to approve the minutes as circulated. Any further discussion on that? Anyone opposed to that motion? The motion is carried and the minutes are approved. So our first item of business today is a discussion item is a heritage permit application for 250 Reynolds. And that is Sue, who is also joining us virtually today. I have quite a full screen, and I should say to our committee members on there, the yellow hand often works, but sometimes banging pot lids together will get my attention more quickly. So if you do wish to join in the discussion, please make it known to me. Anyway, Sue, off you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, everyone, I'm a little under the weather today, but we've put in a lot of work on this application, and I did want to bring it forward to you. So if I could get our staff to bring up the presentation so that I can take you through the application for 250 Reynolds Street, that'd be great. Excellent. Here we are. And so I assume tech staff will help me through the presentation. So when I just say next slide, I'll ask you to move things along. So here we are. It is definitely 250 Reynolds that we're talking about, not 250 Front Street. This is a property in the Trafalgar Road Heritage Conservation District. Next slide, please. So just to give you an idea of where we're looking at, we're on the west side of Reynolds Street in between Shedden and Freestone Lane. Next slide, please. So the property, as I mentioned, is part of the Trafalgar Road Heritage District, and it is considered definitely a historic building within that area. It's a buff brick or yellow brick residence constructed around 1910, possibly as late as 1920. And what we're looking at today is the proposed removal of an existing non-historic rear addition and some alterations to the historic building in order to accommodate the construction of a new, larger addition at the rear of the historic residence. And I'll take you through that both in the plans of the applicant and showing you photos of the existing house. Next slide, please. So here we are. We've gone straight to the back of the house because this is where all of the work is happening. You saw the front of the house in the first title slide, and really that front of the house is remaining unchanged. So the area within the red box here is the area that will be impacted by the proposed new addition. You can see that height-wise, it's underneath, comes in underneath the gable roof. it removes that vinyl clad one-story addition, and it also impacts a two-story projecting bay on the side of the house. Next slide, please. So we're just going to go through a couple different angles of the backyard here. Again, none of this is actually visible from the front yard, the front of the property, but it is still important to ensure that what's being added onto a historic building is compatible and follows the guidelines that are set out both in our Heritage District Plan and the standards and guidelines that we follow for heritage conservation in general. And so, again, here we've got that modern addition, a clear view of the two-story bay. Next slide, please. And again, this is just a kind of a close-up of that two-story bay that you can see there in the very side of the rear addition. Next slide, please. And so this is a photo that I tried to take actually from the front of the property. So because of the vegetation at the back and towards the side and in between the two, this house and its neighbor to the south, there is quite a lot of vegetation. So um, in the red box there, you can generally see the two-story bay as you can see it kind of from the middle of the front lawn of the front of 250 Reynolds. Next slide, please. But this is kind of giving you a better idea of where things will be going from a street view. This is taken from the front of the property, and the red box is the general area where the new addition will be located. Next slide, please. And again, just for even larger context, and also because I wanted to include a slide that didn't have as many leaves on the trees. So you could still see that this will have a relatively small impact on the streetscape. The red box area obviously being the general area of the new addition. Next slide, please. So I've got two slides here, this slide and the next slide, where I've highlighted things on the site plan of the property. And so the solid line is the original historic house, as far as we can tell. That was the part of the house that was built the earliest, probably around 1910. And the dotted line shows you that vinyl addition that was added onto the back of the house. We're not exactly sure when, likely 60s, 70s. It really does not have any historic value, but it certainly didn't significantly alter any of the character of the house, especially not from the street front. Next slide, please. So this is where I've taken, I guess, a little bit more of the imagery of what's actually going to be removed. So the red dotted line is what will be removed from the property. So you can see that it includes a portion of that original historic house. We've got that two bay projection on the south side of the property, and it includes the historic, the non-historic vinyl addition. And then the green overlay is the general area of the proposed new addition. So you can see that it extends certainly further to the south, but it really doesn't go much further to the back of the property than addition does in order for them to maintain their landscape in the pool. So this is you know, just a visual representation of how things exist right now, which is the red dotted line, and how they will be changed with the green solid line. Next slide, please. And so these are the elevation drawings that have been provided by the applicant. Of course, you know, the elevations come to us without any of that landscape context or sighting. So You just have to keep that in mind, but there are some excellent drawings that the applicants provided for us as well that we'll get to later that will show more, that shows the three-dimensional context of the property. And so this is the front elevation. The main part of the house is done in that light gray because you can see that there are no changes proposed to the existing front elevation. And then the darker colors are the new rear addition as it will project from the back of the house. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're coming around to the south elevation. And so this is where the two-story bay will be removed, and any bricks that are taken from that will be used to make any repairs necessary to help kind of match and tie things in from the new addition to the old historic building. Those pieces won't be going to waste. There is a new set of windows being proposed there and a skylight in the roof, but the existing window on that side will remain in place. And through this angle, you can kind of see the roof lines, which is kind of almost a cross gable roof section of the new addition. So this is the south elevation facing the southerly neighbors. Next slide, please. Okay, now we've gone to the rear of the house. So this is facing the backyard. You can see this is obviously where the bulk of the changes are being made, where that one-story rear addition has been removed. And the new addition with its kind of cross gabling roofs has been proposed. The height, of course, is keeping underneath that, generally that front, or sorry, the wall gable that you can see to ensure that the addition remains subordinate to the existing historic house while providing more space and more livability for the property owners. Next slide, please. Okay, and this is taking us around to the north addition. Really, this is this is the side of the house that currently has the driveway running alongside of it. There will be a few changes there to the existing infill of the window, but really this side doesn't project any further past the north elevation. This is what you'll see kind of set back from the front plane, or from the plane of the north elevation of the house. Next slide, please. So a couple of these drawings were prepared kind of to analyze shadow impacts on both the new addition to the neighbors and also to see how the neighboring properties impact the addition itself. But it's always great to see a 3D rendering. So here you can see this is kind of taking a look from the front side of the property. Again, no landscaping in there, so it's not exactly how you would see it, but it gives you an idea, a really good idea of the scale and massing and height as you would see it from the front elevation of the property. Next slide, please. And then again, coming around to the back, you can see again the connection of the cross gable roofs and how they fit into the historic house. The new entrance ways that have been proposed to give more access to that backyard. Next slide, please. And again, this is kind of looking from, we're looking southeast. And you can see the bulk of the historic house remaining intact with the rear addition coming out almost to kind of the raised edge, which represents, I believe, the side of the pool. Next slide, please. And finally, we had a couple of the applicant's architect has provided a couple of color renderings to help us get a really better understanding of how things will fit in together, as they have taken quite a lot of time and detail in trying to determine their color scheme, making sure that the design is sympathetic to the existing historic residence, which is this, it's, I mean, it's a vernacular house. I would say it has elements of Edwardian and craftsman design. And the new addition certainly doesn't directly mimic anything from the main house, but it picks up on those design cues. And so this is what you would see from the front yard. And I believe the next slide should take us around to the back. Yep, there we go. So that you can see it, of course, once it's nicely landscaped and everything, and how it actually will fit into the historic residence and the landscaping of the rear yard. Next slide, please. So just to summarize the application, we have absolutely no issues with the removal of that one-story vinyl clad addition. It's not historic. The applicants have noted on their heritage permit that they will also be reinforcing the foundation of the historic house at the same time. It's a good opportunity while you can get in there to make sure that the historic house will itself will remain standing. As I've noted, the addition is slightly larger than what it currently exists because it wraps around the south side of the historic house, and that requires the removal of that two-story bay. Um, it's actually slightly unusual because normally those bays would have been located closer to the front of the house than the back. So it's slightly unusual that this one really hasn't been a dominant part of the streetscape or of the historic house itself due to its location pushed to the back of the house. Next slide, please. The addition itself, 1.5 stories high with a kind of interesting cross gable roof. It's got a bit of a shed dormer. It has two entrances. One is actually where a historic entrance would have been that was covered by the vinyl addition. And then the second entrance is the double doors that are located closer to the middle of that new addition and give kind of the direct access closer to the pool. The cladding proposed for the addition is wood shingles, so that will differentiate it from the brick residence, but it's also quite complementary because there are wood shingles used in the wall gables on both the front and back of the house. The window styles of the addition are generally complementary to the historic residence. They kind of echo that large lower single pane with multi-panes above, which is very much a craftsman style detail of window. Um, so overall, really, this is a vernacular addition to a vernacular house with craftsman elements on both of them. The shingle cladding is very much a craftsman style feature, as well as these multi-pane windows, and also the roof lines as well. Next slide, please. And so, of course, when we take in these applications and we work with the applicants, we're always assessing what's being proposed through the guidelines of the appropriate district plan, which for this one, of course, is the Trafalgar Road Heritage District Plan. And there is a section in your appendices that provides the guidance that we were using in order to evaluate this application. So we're pleased that the proposed addition is differentiated from the historic house through its use of the shingle materials that contrasts but also complements the brick because again, as I noted, it's compatible with the roof shingle, with the wall shingles and the gables. It does not radically or alter distinguishing features of the historic residence. The front elevation remains completely intact, and really not many changes will be visible from the public realm. The color scheme for the proposed addition is complementary. The natural cedar shingles, dark brown window trim, these are the colors that already exist on the house, and we're looking to tie the addition in so that it has a very smooth and complementary transition. And as always, we always love to see our additions located on the rear of historic residences. And this is also wrapped around a rather inconspicuous side of the home as well. Next slide, please. The height is lower than the main residence, another thing we always look for. And while it does protrude past the south wall, again, staff are of the opinion that it doesn't have a significant impact on the overall historic character of the house. And the applicants have committed to reusing any bricks possible in order to make sure that any gaps that need to be filled in to make the two building parts joined together seamlessly will be reused. And the design overall, we're pleased with, as it doesn't exactly replicate the historic architecture of the house, but it takes these design cues from the existing historic features and uses them in a complementary way. So really, it's a contemporary addition with a traditional feel due to these craftsman details, and it's very much subordinate to the historic house. Next slide, please. So the staff recommendation before you today is that the heritage permit be approved. Of course, we've got our usual caveats that the cladding materials, windows, and doors be submitted to staff for final approval before they're installed, and that the heritage permit has 2 years for its completion. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And I do know that the project architect, I believe, is with us online today as well. And I'd like to thank him. That's Stephen Brousseau of Brousseau Designs for taking the time to actually make sure that he had read the Trafalgar Road Heritage Conservation District Plan and came forward with a design that staff feel meet those guidelines. They're very easy to work with. So thank you.
Thank you, Sue, and I think you read the zoning as well, because there don't seem to be any variances looked for, so that's a pleasant surprise too. Okay, that's it. And it's the visual presentations that we get now, especially the last 2 slides of the front and back, are so much better than what we used to get years ago, and they really do clearly show, for those of us who are perhaps less able to interpret a drawing and see it in 3D, which I'm sure Jerry does just automatically. But so it shows it really well. Okay, are there any questions of Sue? Yes, Bob.
So there's a note that they will need a tree removable permit. When I look at the picture of the backyard, I don't see any trees close to the proposed addition. Could you clarify just what they intend to take out?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I might defer to Stephen on this, but I do believe that it's the cedars that have kind of overgrown in between the 2 houses. It's my understanding that there is a lovely Japanese maple in the rear yard, and that is intended to stay. So when it's appropriate, I'll ask Stephen to clarify that, but I believe that that's what the tree removal is referring to, the extra tall cedars that have kind of overgrown their normal intended purpose.
Okay.
So none of the big trees in the front will come down?
No, it's my understanding everything on the front will remain as is.
Okay, thank you.
Good, thank you, Bob. Any other questions of Sue? Nope, good. Thank you, Sue. Now we have Mr. Stephen Brousseau online. I can see you there, Stephen. Is there anything that you wish to add to Sue's presentation?
Nope, I think Susan captured everything really well in the presentation. The renderings came through, showing the intention. Yeah, and to your point about the trees, that's correct. All the trees are going to stay. We're going to attempt to move the Japanese maple, but it's quite tall and established, so it might prove a little bit difficult. There is an existing Japanese maple in the backyard behind the pool that the clients love, and so there already is one there too. But yeah, the cedars are the bulk of what we're going to be removing for this.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of the applicant's representative? Nope, no questions. Okay, super. Thank you, Stephen.
You're welcome.
Right, so since there can be no other delegations, we're now confined to the board. Any discussion? Jenny?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to say that it's a pleasure to see a very skillful and a delightful addition to and restoration of 250 Reynolds, the skillful manipulation of the roof and the skillful use of the Oakville vernacular language. It's a pleasure to see. Nicely done.
Thank you, Jenny. Any other
Thank you.
comments? Anybody? I'm looking virtually. I don't see any yellow hands, so I presume everybody out there has had their questions answered. Okay, if there isn't any further discussion, the staff has given us a recommended motion. Would anybody like to propose that? Kerry, thank you. So Kerry has proposed the motion that the staff have given us that says essentially the application be approved subject to the usual conditions. Any further discussion on that motion? No? Anyone opposed to that motion? No? Good. The motion is carried and the application will move on to Planning and Development Committee. Thank you, Stephen, for attending this morning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, good. So the next item on the agenda is the notice of intention to designate 376 Chartwell Road, and that's Carolyn.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we are looking with this item at a notice of intention to designate. I'll just wait for the presentation. Okay, here's the property here at 376 Chartwell Road. Pictures of the front and the side of it as it looks today. So I'll take you through just a bit of a summary. You have the Cultural Heritage Evaluation Report in the agenda package, so hopefully everyone had a chance to read it. This is one that we had identified as a priority as part of the designation project. And as you know, some of the properties are still going to be trickling through for some designations in the next year or so. This was one that we had been working on but got delayed a little bit just due to timing and workload, but we're now happy to be back with it with support from the owner as well. So the property is known as Hillside Farmhouse, and you can see its location on the map there at the corner of McDonald and Chartwell Road. So one of the only historic buildings in that area and a remnant of when this area was an agricultural lands and was known for the McDonalds, who did a lot of work with beef cattle, and the Morrison brothers as well. So I'll take a bit of just a description of the heritage evaluation that we were basically identified through the assessment. And so first, from a design and physical value, we believe it has cultural heritage value as a representative example of a Victorian era brick house with Queen Anne influences. And historically, it's associated with McDonald family. Again, these are local cattle ranchers. John McDonald was a politician in Oakville for many years in a number of different roles. And McDonald Road was named after this family on which the property still sits today. And contextually, it has value because it is physically and historically linked to its surroundings. It still stands in its original location. It contributes to the understanding of the local community, again, because of the transition and understanding of this transition from farming to a residential area that you have today. And there are still also a lot of mature trees that still delineate parts of the original farmland property. So we have a recommendation here that a notice of intention to designate be issued under Part 4 of the Heritage Act for the property. And again, we have support from the owners on this one, and it's been one that we're really happy to be moving forward with. We'd like to take the same recommendation to council at a future council meeting, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Good, super. Thank you, Carolyn. It's been a while since I've been reading some of these reports, but it's always nice to read them and to learn a little bit more about the history of our town and what's been happening here. Okay, are there any questions of Carolyn? Jerry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Carolyn, it was a pleasure, just to echo what Drew just mentioned. I just wanted to just draw attention to page 47 and page 46 of our information items. And I see that, is there any room for future, we just, I guess, like to appeal to the owners for the front porch. It has a new less is more addition with the wood and contemporary aesthetic. And I look at it in comparison to the Heritage Building on page 46, and I think we're just one little step left to make it fully beautiful and a house of full heritage integrity. So if there's an opportunity for the owners to push ahead in the future, if they have funding to do so, that would be great. And we do have heritage grant programs to assist with that. Thank you.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, to Jerry, I'll just note that we do have some really great photographs of the original porches. So if in the future this owner or a future owner wanted to do a restoration project, that'd certainly be something that would be supported through the Heritage Grant Program as well. Yes, thank you.
Yes, the old picture is very much nicer, isn't it? Very much prettier. Okay, good. Any other questions of Colin? Yes? Okay, yep. Gary?
Mr. Chair, in that same vein, was there a permit taken out to make the changes to those porches? I don't remember it coming to committee.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the property wasn't designated, so no heritage permit was required when alterations are being made. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, so I've got Jonathan and then Dave.
I'm happy to move it at the appropriate time, but maybe Councillor Giddings has a question, and I agree with Jerry's suggestion around the porch, and we can just pass a note on to the owner about the heritage grant. I think that would be well received.
Good. Okay. Councillor Giddings?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank staff for the report. What a delightful read. I'm fortunate to either walk or ride my bike or drive by this property several times a day because I'm in the neighborhood. And it certainly brings the property and the people to life. So I just want to commend staff for the report.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions of Colin? Nope. Okay, good. Any further discussion? Nope. Well, we got a motion from Councillor McNeice to approve the staff recommendation. Any further discussion on that motion? Anyone opposed to that motion? The motion is carried. Super. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the heritage permit application for 181 Front Street, and that's Carolyn again.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So yes, the property is 181 Front Street, and again, this is a heritage permit application. The property is located within the Old Oakville Heritage Conservation District, so it's just on the north side of Front Street, east of Thomas. And it is a non-contributing property, so as part of the recent update to the Heritage District Plan and Guidelines, this property was identified as non-contributing, which means the existing building can be demolished. So the application is to demolish the existing house and detached garage on the property, and to construct a new two-story house. So there was a committee of adjustment process that came along with this proposal for the new house, and this is described in the report, but I'll just give a little bit of a summary. There were two minor variances, one for lot coverage and one for residential floor area. The numbers that you have on the screen have shifted by minuscule amounts, just up and down based on different calculations, but generally speaking, and what we have today that we're looking at is a lot coverage of 30.14%, whereas the maximum permitted is 25%, and a residential floor area of 43.28%, whereas the max permitted is 30%. So in terms of process of where we are, these variances went to the Committee of Adjustment in May of this year. Staff did not object to the application, but the Committee of Adjustment did refuse the application, and the owner appealed the decision to the OLT. So this OLT hearing was quite recent, on September 5th. And in this case, again, the town did not object to the minor variances, so it was a settlement hearing. The OLT decision is yet to be released. It is Obviously, you know, at this point, no registered parties were objecting to the minor variances, so it's likely that the OLT decision will be in favor of the variances. But just to make sure we're covered, we did include a condition in the heritage permit approval that the approval be conditional upon this OLT decision when it comes out. And we don't have a date on that yet, but we expect it to be in the next coming weeks. So we are moving forward with this, and because we have the reason we're also moving forward with this at this timeline, at this date, so soon after the OLT hearing, is we do have a requirement in terms of timing under the legislation to take this heritage permit through to council by early October. So that's why the committee has it before them today. So I'll show you some photos of the existing building. So the small beige house that you see in the top left-hand corner, that is the existing house. There was an older house on the property in the late 90s that was demolished and reconstructed. Part of it was somewhat of a replica referencing the original building, plus all of the new addition to the back. So when the district plan was updated, it was not considered to be a contributing building just because the materials themselves were new, and it really wasn't a true replica of the original house. So what we're looking at today is the removal of this building and the construction of a new house in its place, with the driveway being shifted from the right side of the property, if we're looking at it from Front Street, to the left. So I'll show you the site plan here. So if you look on the left, this is the proposed new house, the footprint of it. I've marked in orange where the front porch is, because this section actually protrudes out from the building with the second story as well. So just to show that this portion of the building is projecting beyond the garage piece that you see on the left. So on the left side of the building with the new driveway, you see the new garage is integrated within the house. It's a single bay garage. And then we have the rest of the building going towards the rear and to the side. And if we look to the right, I've just done an overlay of the existing footprint of the house today to show its comparison. So not that dissimilar in terms of the size of footprint, but in different locations on the property. So the existing house is quite forward, close to the street, and the new addition has been pushed back to increase the front yard. And I'll get into that a little bit later and how that relates to the district plan and guidelines. But you can see now that it goes further to the east and then further back than the existing building. And something I'll also point out on the site plan drawing to the left, the trees that you see at the back of the property are all to be retained. No other trees within the property are proposed to be removed, but there is a tree in the bottom you can see with a gray X through it. That is actually, I believe it's a town tree, a smaller tree. It was planted several years ago, and that would need to be removed to accommodate the new driveway. So here is a roof plan of the new building. So we're looking at a gable roof with intersecting gables coming off of it and a shed roof on the left-hand side above the garage. And again, this shows you how the right portion of the building is protruding beyond the garage portion to the left. The house is proposed to be clad in wood shingles as well as the roof, so a cedar shingle roof. You can see it's quite a traditional form in terms of the gables and the shed roof. The small trio of windows up in the eaves is an element that you can see throughout the district and other heritage buildings. So there are elements, you know, of heritage pieces of in the district that this house takes cues from. And you can see that here with the front porch as well, the front door with side lights, multi-pane windows, wood trim, and traditional wood doors, paneled wood doors. The building is only 8.91 meters in height, so far below the required maximum for zoning and below the existing houses on either side as well. So coming around the west elevation, you can see the building drops down to 1 story towards the rear. And again, a lot of sort of traditional elements here without being too detailed where it competes with the heritage buildings in the neighborhood. Coming around towards the rear, we have bays of windows along the back, creating a sort of a sun porch effect in the back, which would be leading into the backyard. And then coming back to the east elevation, you can see there's a chimney here on the east elevation and an open covered porch at the back. And then you can see the covered porch with the livable area above at the front of the building. And we have a couple of renderings here. And this also helps to show the slope of the land. So of course, with most of the properties in these kinds of slopes, so the grading changes. They've incorporated some retaining walls into the landscaping, and I'll show a bit more details on that later. Here's a rendering of the rear of the property as well. So looking at the district plan, one of the pieces that it talks about is how to design a building or new additions in an area like this known as the gully landscape. So if we look at the image in the bottom, what's been done is the dotted line, it follows the grading in this image. So trying to show that we take sort of the maximum roofline profile that you can see there on the left of the image, and going from there and creating a line that follows the topography of the land to make sure that the buildings are all kind of following within that height. So we've done the same on the streetscape plan above. So the orange line that you see is the existing topography, and the black line above it is following that line, starting at the taller point on the left-hand side where we have the, what's pink, it's not pink today, but the house here is still shown as pink. So we're taking that line and that height and following it down to follow the topography of that land. And you can see the house itself is well under it. We don't include chimneys in this because chimneys have to be of a certain height for code requirements. But even the chimney is now far below, or it was within this height limit, and the house is far below that height limit. So from our perspective, when we do this exercise and this test, this shows us, is the building fitting in with the topography and with the grading of the gully landscape? And this tells us from a heritage perspective that it does. It's actually well within those lines and therefore follows that topography and meets the requirements of the district plan and guidelines. So I'll get into a bit of landscaping. Final details will have to come to staff on this. Not everything has yet been finalized, but this gives you an idea of what they're proposing. So to the right is the front street with the new driveway and new pathways accessing the front door. And to the rear is a proposed pool and spa with lots of plantings and some paved areas as well, paved with pavers, landscape pavers. And then on the bottom and on the top, which would be the east and the west sides of the property, there are natural retaining walls using natural stones to accommodate with that grading. But when you look at it from the front, you'll still have that topography going down, that natural grading and slope. At the front of the property will still be there, but the building has been, obviously will be flat with the retaining walls around the side. So these images show you a little bit of how that's going to work. And of course, lots of new plantings and trees and vegetation proposed as part of the new landscape plan. So in terms of the heritage assessment, staff find that the scale and massing of the proposed new building is in keeping with the surrounding neighborhood. The new house is set back farther than the existing house, and this does a couple things. It minimizes the visual impact of the new building on the street, but it also creates a more uniform street wall. So the two houses on either side, or buildings on either side, this new building will actually be between their two setbacks. So creating a little bit more consistency. And that's actually outlined in the district plan in terms of creating more uniformity along Front Street. So this does conform to that part of the district plan. In terms of height, it's lower than in height than the two adjacent homes. Again, it follows that topographical slope of Front Street. The design is quite traditional, but it's not competing with heritage buildings in the area. It's taking cues from them without replicating any of them. So we have traditional gable roofs, multi-paned windows, dormers to bring down the height visually to make sure that the building fits in. And then finally, we have traditional materials with wood trim and doors and wood shingle cladding and roofing as well. And looking at the district plan, again, this is new, where we're looking at how it meets the requirements of the gully landscape area and the key landscape area. So this property is located within both those areas. So firstly, with the gully landscape area, the lot pattern with the large front yard setbacks and openness along Front Street, that's identified as a heritage value attribute within the gully landscape area. And from our perspective, those have both been maintained. Again, the house being pushed back a little bit maintains that openness and the front yard setbacks along that street. The slope along Front Street is also maintained. The side yard retaining walls, which are pushed back a little bit, help actually functionally make the new building work while keeping that slope along the front. The massing and height respect the slope and the heights of nearby properties, and the design reflects and complements historic architectural styles within the area. And finally, the key landscape area, the one that guideline that is relevant to this property is to conserve the uniform street wall and continuous front yard setbacks of Front Street. So again, that is maintained in this case as well. So here's our staff recommendation that the demolition of the existing house and the detached garage and the construction of the new house be approved. But we have two conditions here. The first, that the approval of final details in the new cladding, windows, doors, and landscaping come to staff for final approval. And that the approval of the two Committee of Adjustment minor variances by the Ontario Land Tribunal be in place before this can be finalized. And of course, that the permit expire 2 years from council approval. And we have the agent and the owners here as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but if there's something I can't answer, hopefully they can help as well. Thank you.
Okay. Super. Thank you, Carolyn. I was nominated by TCRA to join this committee, and I was scheduled to be appointed, and I thought I'd attend a couple of 3 heritage meetings just to see what went on. And I actually attended the meeting at which this house's application was approved. And I recall the discussion around the illegal demolition that had taken place and all of the other stuff. And that would be around 2000 probably, because it was built in 2001. I don't know, George, if you were on the committee at that time. Jerry, you were? And so, yeah, and a lot of discussion about trying to emulate and retain the stone and do all kinds of things. So it's interesting, sort of 25 years later, to be dealing with the same property. Anyway, that's just an aside. Any questions of Carolyn? George?
Go. The right button. Thank you, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Carolyn. Can you sort of indicate why the Committee of Adjustment turned down the application? Were you at the meeting, or do you have any information that would help this committee understand Committee of Adjustment applications and decisions from time to time?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, to George. I mean, I can't really speak for the committee. My understanding is there were members of the community who were against it for a variety of reasons. And I think that's probably why the Committee of Adjustment did struggle with this application, despite the staff not objecting to the minor variances. But I really can't speak to exactly why the committee went the direction they did.
But was there there must have been a decision by the Committee of Adjustment that indicates why it was turned down?
Yes, I'm wondering, we do also have one of our legal staff members here who's more familiar with the Committee of Adjustment process, if you're looking for more information from that perspective. I don't know if that's...
Don't know.
Oh, here they are, joined online. We've got Ms. Hutwith from legal.
Yes, I am present, but I did not take this hearing. I'm standing in for Mr. Perlin, who took the hearing. I will look and see what it is. However, the Committee of Adjustment and the Ontario Land Tribunal look at these matters from the perspective of the zoning and the things which were the zoning bylaws intended to control. Both the staff members did not object. As it was indicated earlier, there was no evidence against this at the time. So it's fully expected the Ontario Land Tribunal will be approving the application from their perspective, because they have no evidence to go in a different direction. It's important you remember you look at it from the different perspective of the heritage, which does deal with different aspects of the spaces which are occupied, the materials which are used, other aspects of the problem. But if I can find the Committee of Adjustment decision and whether they gave committee reasons, I'm just looking through Mr. Perlin's files, then I'll let you know. But as Carolyn had indicated, there were residents who attended. They were claiming there would be impacts on them, to adjoining properties based on their views. They did raise issues with respect to heritage concerns, which you are addressing with the information that you have before you and your judgment. But as I said, I can't claim which which of those factors influence the Committee of Adjustment.
Well,
I would also note that the just as you're being asked to protect against, decisions of the committee on the variances not being issued, in the materials that were put to the Ontario Land Tribunal, they were asked to protect for your jurisdiction so that their variances are approved subject to a heritage permit being issued by the town for these matters. And it allows for changes to the drawings that are required to satisfy your requirements.
Okay, thank you.
But I don't have the added information at this time.
Okay, thank you. George, that's interesting background information, but it doesn't actually impact on anything that we do. The Committee of Adjustment does what it does in terms of its mandate, and we do what we do in terms of ours.
Yeah, no, I'm interested in how they
yes.
came to conclusion,
Yes.
but as I look at the numbers, you see the permitted coverage is 25%. It's up, the coverage that's submitted was 30, so that's, how much is that, close to 20% increase?
I think most of that was the decking veranda space.
Well, I'm just
building. But it's done, George.
It's going to, I know, but it's going to come back, and that's what I'm just wondering. It's going to come back. People say, well, it's 25, but they gave them 30, and they gave the other 43. So that's why I was interested to see what the decision was, but obviously I'm not going to get an answer today, at least the basis for it. Thank you.
And I'm sure the staff will give you that information just as a matter of information, but it doesn't impact on what we're dealing with today. We stick to our knitting, and it's the Heritage Act. Any other questions of Carolyn? Yes, Bob.
Hi, Carolyn. Looking at the current streetscape, that tree is quite significant in the front of the house. You say it's coming out because of the driveway, but to me it doesn't look as if it impacts the area where the driveway is going to be. If you look on page 78.
So, through you, Mr. Chair, to Bob, and I'm looking at the site plan application, and the driveway is to the left of the site plan if you're looking at it, and you can see the X is right there within the driveway itself. I'm trying to see if I can see what page. I think I'm looking at page 81 of the agenda.
I was looking at page 78, which is a photograph of the...
Yeah, so the site plan on page 81 is helpful. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner of the property, on that image, you can see the driveway and that X showing the new house, or sorry, the tree that was there. The tree was planted, I think we had it, it was in the 2010s at some point, so it's several years old. I think it is an oak tree, but yes, it is right in the edge of the driveway there, if you can see it. Or
Must be
maybe,
an
would you
optic
like me to
move.
bring up the presentation? Would that be helpful? To bring up the presentation to show you?
For which the...
To show you the site
Yes.
plan on the presentation, I
Yeah,
could
yeah,
point
no,
it
I
out.
have that, yeah.
You've got it, okay.
Okay, so, well, it must be my eyesight.
Okay.
It looks a lot further to the east than where it's shown.
Yes, the streetscape views are sometimes a bit difficult just because the angles of the photos are taken at, so sometimes it's a little bit difficult to compare, but the site plan shows it more clearly through where it is, yeah.
Will there be replanting of that in the front?
Yes, there is replanting proposed, and hopefully maybe the architect can speak to that in more detail. Again, some of those final designs will come to staff for approval, but this is a town tree, so there will be requirements for that. So maybe I can have the architect speak to what exactly they're doing for that.
We'll
Thank
get to
you.
you in a moment, Mr. Hicks. We'll get to you in a moment. So I think, Bob, we'll leave that, and perhaps you can redirect your question to Mr. Hicks when he's on the stand. Okay, good. Any other questions of Carolyn? No, none. Okay. Well, we do have a registered delegation. So, Mr. Hicks, if you would like to attend at the podium and name, rank, and serial number to the secretary, and then tell us what you think we need to know.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. William Hicks, acting on behalf of the owners of 181 Front Street, which are behind me today here in the hearing. So I can't answer the question on the tree. We will definitely be replanting that tree. I think the tree is actually possibly transplantable. We will look at that. We've transplanted up to a 30-foot oak tree before, so by using a root ball transportation. But the town will, through the arborist reports, et cetera, will definitely want us to replace with additional trees. So that's certainly the intent of the owner. So I think otherwise our comments I'll keep to a minimum. Carolyn has explained to it. I can answer for the question that came from Mr. Gordon that of the committee at that point in time, even though it's not as relevant at this point, was when it didn't meet the 4 tests. So there was nothing specific. I think they were swayed to some extent by the number of public. In my experience with the committee here and in Toronto, the committee, they just transfer it off to Ontario Land Tribunal and let someone else make that decision. So, but there wasn't any specific things from the committee. In fact, I don't think it was even unanimous in terms of the turning down, but I don't have that decision here with me today. So. But there was only a small committee in place at that point as well. So we were somewhat surprised, but residents' concerns were essentially supportive of the person behind, which was concerned with blocking some view of the lakefront. So, which in our perspective really wasn't there because there's about 50-foot high pine trees in front of our property, so on the opposite side of the road. So. But otherwise, unless there's any questions specifically from the committee, I'd like to thank Carolyn for the work that she's done. We've tried to work with the new guidelines, and I was kept apprised of the new guidelines as they were being developed before they were approved. And we've, I think, worked out something that works very well. And the past history of the property we know was somewhat of an issue, but that wasn't these owners. And hopefully this will be a new addition to the street that's compatible with what's appropriate in the neighborhood. So,
good, thank you. Any questions of Mr. Hicks? No, good, thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Okay, there being no other opportunities to delegate, we're confined to the board. Any discussion on this? Any comments? Jerry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I recall that the reconstruction in the 1990s fell short of the details of the pre-1990s heritage home that existed on site. I think the project is nicely done. It has beautiful aesthetics and details. It bridges the heritage and contemporary detailing. It's an improvement, in my opinion, on what exists in terms of quality of details and aesthetics. It bridges in height and aesthetics and front setback with the properties to the east and the west. I would say the only negative is the garage in front is not ideal in the district, but a practical resolution in our times. Architecturally, it was detailed quietly, allowing the front door area to dominate. If anything, I think it may even work better from the streets if it moved closer to the streets as per the existing house. But where it sits right now in the plan, it does bridge nicely the east and west property. So it's nicely done, in my opinion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Would somebody like to give me a motion? Bob? So Bob has given me a motion to approve the staff recommendation. Any further discussion on that motion? Anyone opposed to that motion? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Thank you very much indeed, everyone. And we'll now move on to the next item on the agenda, which is information items. And there's the delegated heritage permits are noted there. And as usual, if you have any questions about these, you should ask the staff after the meeting. but that's been circulated. And I just make a general information item. I know that there is an item on everybody's mind at the moment, but it can't be part of our discussions and on our agenda. The whole matter is now sub judice, and nothing that we say can help the matter. It can only hinder it. So we can't discuss it here at the meeting. Afterwards, if any of us want to talk amongst ourselves or with the staff to get more information, then that, of course, is quite in order. But we can't be putting it on the agenda for this meeting, although it's in our minds. Okay, so the date and sorry, I need a motion to receive the information items. George, thank you. No, there's no discussion on that. No? Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to take a moment to express my sadness at the parting of a stalwart supporter of heritage preservation, an expert in the field of heritage architecture, a dear colleague, mentor, and friend, Alexander Temporelli.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. To quote an OAA write-up of Alexander as a member of long-standing, Alex was dedicated to safeguarding the historical essence of communities while fostering their development and distinctive character. His leadership has led to such contributions as the Oakville Urban Design and Streetscape Guidelines, which have guided community development for more than 2 decades. And my heart goes out to the family, friends, and colleagues of Alexander Temporelli. And I see Mr. Hicks just left. He was Alex was his mentor as well in his young architectural career. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. I didn't know that. That's a shame because we have dealt with Alex a good number of times on the committee. So that's sad news indeed. Okay, so George, you gave me a motion to receive the information items. No discussion on that. No one opposed. The items are received. The date and time of our next meeting is October the 28th in the council chamber at 9:30 a.m. Sue has just moved that we adjourn our meeting, so thank you as always for the gift of your time today, and the meeting is now closed.
Recording stopped.